So I'm in a mood to really make this video because I'm kind of pissed off. I mean, low-key, I'm always pissed off and have like such disgust for humanity. So technically that's not even something different, but I think okay, it fits the theme for this video in particular because I wanted to discuss selfishness and I guess, how I interpret that as a narcissist. And this goes without saying, I am not a doctor, obviously. So, I'm speaking from within myself and as to how I experience this stupid fucking like piece of shit world. But all right, here goes. Now, as a narcissist, I know the thing about us is that a lot of people would probably say, "Oh, narcissists can't admit that they're wrong. They can't admit that they're ever at fault." And like in my case, perhaps I can be super argumentative. I can fight to the death to prove my point, just to like hold on to the power that I believe you're gonna take away from me if you get your way. But in all honesty, I think deep in my core, yes, I am a super like selfish and like self-centered person. But here's the thing. I think this applies to every single person. So, in all honesty, I think like throughout my life, it's never really brought upon like shame or negative feelings because I'm guessing to normal people, you know, being said, that you are selfish and like self-centered is like, not a good quality, not a good trait because oh, you're doing a disservice to people on the planet, yada yada yada, because oh, you only care about yourself, this and this and that. But honestly, as I've always maneuvered the world, yeah, I'm pretty selfish. So I think, a lot of you might say, oh, yeah, well, that's just your projection at play. But I don't know. Hear me out, and you might possibly see what I'm talking about. Maybe not. You probably won't. but, well, here goes. Yeah, I do believe that every single person is selfish. And I think when I am in a confrontation with somebody and they're trying to shame me that, because I'm selfish and they don't like the way I'm being, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They don't like the way that I'm being because I'm only selfish because I'm acting in a way that doesn't fit their expectations. They wouldn't call me selfish if I conformed to whatever those expectations are. So, in all honesty, you're not mad at me because I'm selfish. You're simply mad at me because I'm not listening to whatever the fuck it is that you want me to do or however you want me to like, act and things like that. So, whenever people say this to each other, whenever people say this to me, I always just thought it was hypocritical because, yes, I'm aware that I think in hierarchies more often than like other people. So, I know within like all of these power dynamics and like structures, you're either going to get your way or I'm going to get my way. And, we can't have it both ways, especially if we, have like different wants and expectations of like whatever the hell it is that like we're dealing with to the point where we have to annoyingly cross paths because oh, we're opposing forces for each other. Like to me, we're both equally selfish and you're fighting for that power and I'm fighting for that power. So if you call me selfish, I just think that you're losing, to be honest. Like I've heard like sociopaths and the like, call life like a game or whatever. And I kind of see where that's coming from because I think, at least more so specifically for me as a narcissist, this is what I think that, like, okay, every single time I'm called selfish, then I know to myself that you're losing the game. I'm winning. You're trying to pull out all your manipulation and like guilt tactics to make me submit and grovel to whatever it is that like is that like yeah, whatever you want me to do. And I don't know, perhaps it works on like regular people who I think are stupid enough to not see how things are actually working within like power structures and the like. I'm sorry if I'm not talking properly right now. My like, thoughts are just like really like racing at this point because yeah, I am really focused now on how dumb, stupid, and hypocritical humanity truly is. And I know that people say sympathy is a good thing. And yeah, okay, if someone were to express compassion or care for me, okay, yeah, thanks. I mean, I know deep down I'm still gonna think it's pity, so in a sense I will still low key always hate it. But like, okay, yeah, thanks for showing your mercy upon me. Yeah, thank you very much. But anyway, apart from that, um, yeah, it's just disgusting to me because people front that like, oh, we're supposed to care about each other, we're supposed to like do this, and they just like completely ignore the fact that like, nah, there are like power structures, or at least like people don't acknowledge it in the way that like it realistically is. That's why I feel like when I see compassion and people caring for each other, it like low key still disgusts me. And it's like I've always thought that like people caring about other people and they have like no power to change anything, they're just fucking trying to make themselves feel like a good person because, oh, anybody can imagine anything super terrible happening to somebody else on Earth. And yeah, okay, if they were asked, oh, do you wish you could stop that? Yeah, I know a lot of people are going to want to fucking virtue signal. A lot of people are going to want to put their like fucking SJW glasses on and be like, oh yeah, I wish I could stop world hunger. I wish I could stop this. Nah. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, it would be a perfect world if like all of those issues were like, simply gone. But the fact is that like you're defenseless and you can't do anything. So like in a way, is that not just for your fucking like ego boost? And I know you might say, oh, people give to charity, people do this and this and that. Yeah, okay, people give to charity, but these problems are still fucking ongoing. Like, okay, if you give a fucking homeless man some money, he can perhaps spend it for that day. Or if you give him some like food, he can eat it for that day. But then you know what? The rest of his life will still continue. Like dirt fucking poor, sitting on the ground, just hoping for another rare day that maybe someone will give him some money or some food. So, in a way, I feel like even these like small things are so fucking gross and disgusting. And I probably sound fucked for saying that. I'm not saying don't do that, but it's like, okay, I see why people do it, but I'm just like I feel like deep within my core, I'm always gonna have that fucking hate still. Or like, I know I'm extremely hateful, so in a way, every single thing that happens in this world to me or what I do, I might compensate with superiority. Maybe in other times when I feel like I'm down and a hypocrite because, oh, I can only be on top or on bottom. Even if I'm on top, I still think to myself, okay, I'm the one that's oppressive. Because in order for me to get up here, somebody else had to lose. Because, kind of like what I said, like, earlier, we can't have it both ways. I don't believe in a world where, compromise, like, is a thing. And, like, back again to, like, what I've been talking about, how I feel like people, even when they hear these, like, tragedies and shit, are, like, or doing these, like, small acts, like, it doesn't, like, amount to, like, anything. They're just trying to feel like good people. Because, like, again, with, like, the homeless man example, okay, sure, if you're lucky enough to have shelter, I know, perhaps you don't own a fucking mansion, but it's like, okay, yeah, sure, you feel good. Giving that $5 while you get to, go on and on, having a bed to sleep in, like whatever, all those things that the homeless person is, yeah, but you hold on to the fact that you're a good person just because that one time, perhaps that one time you gave someone, that homeless man, like, $5. And like, again, every single time when tragedies happen, yeah, I want to focus on like tragedies specifically. So like, I don't know, let's say school shootings, terrorist attacks, and people are like, oh my gosh, we feel so bad for like, all these sort of like people. No, the fuck you don't. And like, this is what I mean. Because like, here's the thing though. Okay, I know some people are gonna be like, oh, what if that was somebody that you cared about that fucking died in an attack, a shooting, or like whatever, like something like that. Like, have some compassion. Like, low-key, I'm thinking in my head, like, fuck you, man. You don't care about those people. Because like, if you can tell me that, like, okay, what if that was somebody you cared about dying? Okay, then like, this is what that translates to me. You're just saying that you hope bad things don't happen to other people just so it decreases the chances that bad things don't happen to the people that you care about. So literally, when you express like, oh my gosh, sympathy and compassion for like, oh my gosh, these people that have like lost their loved ones, I'm just like, low-key, I'm just like, fuck you. Like, yeah, okay, like much like with the homeless man thing that like I've said, you do that. in order to feel good about yourself. I'm sure that boosts your ego because, like, oh, you're the opposite of me. You have so much humanity. You care so much. And you want society to thrive. Blah, blah, blah. This and this and that. I'm just like, like, whatever, man. And, like, okay, this brings up, like, like a good point to me. Because, like, okay, like, theoretically, I could imagine, like, okay, like, Columbine shooters, Eric Harris, and, Dylan Klebold. I know people aren't gonna celebrate them, except when you go to like a specific corner of like the internet where like, okay, yeah, maybe some people are, but like, okay, I'm not talking about those people. Like, okay, can you just imagine if like hypothetically, like in an alternate timeline, let's say, in an alternate like universe or something, theoretically, hypothetically, if they were killed before they ever did their shooting, they would be referred to as, victims themselves. Nobody would have ever known, hypothetically, that like they would later on to like go and like do that. They would more or less like have been like people that would be that were like, oh, like considered victims, much in the same way that like they made people during their attack like victims. Because like, see, that's the thing, people project when they don't know anything about anybody, because, oh, they just want to see the good in people, whatever, this and this and that. There is no good in anybody. Like we're all fighting for what we want. And I feel like the way I see it as a narcissist, I can easily like see that, like, much in the same way, like, okay, we can get through like so many like moral debacles, and it's like, okay, it's like, I don't know, like the trolley problem, like so many like different versions of that. Like, how there's a question as to like, okay, would you go back in time and kill like, like baby Hitler so you could potentially save a lot of people that, died during the Holocaust and shit? Like, would you do that? Like, like in a way, it begs the question, hypothetically, what if these people that died in attacks could have potentially have done something so much worse? And obviously, I don't actually know that because they fucking died. But like, here's the thing. Obviously, their friends and their family are gonna say good things about them because they have a bias towards them. And you, because you don't actually know anything about them, and you're like, oh my gosh, think about, like, what if that was somebody that, like, you cared about? Obviously, because you care about the people that you care about, you're gonna project the same thing for those, like, other people. But, like, for all you know, like, let's say, for example, like, okay, like, the Sandy Hook shooting, you don't know if any of those kids could have, like, hypothetically, like, grew up to be, like a school shooter themselves. Okay, what if, hypothetically, they could have done way worse than Adam Lanza did when he fucking, like, killed them all? Like, it's all just, like, speculation. So to me, it all just goes back to, like, okay, you say this because, oh, you want to feel like a good person. Of course, it makes you look good to condone tragic and, like, horrific acts. Or it's like, oh, I care about the people in my life. I don't want this happening to them. Yeah, you don't want that happening to them. But of course, it also makes a good front if you combine everyone else, like, together and be like, fuck off. Everybody's like, in their tribe, like, one way or another. I mean, anyone, for example, can easily say, oh, I don't want anyone to die. And it's like, it's so easy and cozy to coast through that your entire life and, like, think you're a good person because, oh, if you were in a situation, hypothetically, where it's like, okay, this complete random stranger or this person that you care about and have, like, personal attachment to, I know a lot of people are gonna, like, obviously pick the person that, like, they actually care about, oh, because they care about that person. Like, that's just a circular reasoning. They care about that person, so, like, okay, yeah, like, whatever. Whether or not they actually deserve the care, or anyone deserves the care, I'm like, is a completely other, like, like different discussion. But I'm just like, the whole point that I'm making, though, is that everything that you do is selfish. And I'm just like, it's surprising to me that, like, not a lot of people can see it the way I do. Like, they just live in this, like, delusional lie, and they feel like they can say, oh, selflessness is a thing. And I'm just like, no, the fuck it isn't. That is, like, the dumbest shit I have ever heard. Like, I heard someone say, oh, selflessness is when you don't include yourself in the process of decision making for, like, whatever it is, because, okay, it's supposed to be, for someone else's, like, benefit, right? But I'm just like, fuck you, man. I'm just like, okay, like, yeah, that's just like moral, preachy, like, like unreasonable, like hippie shit, or like whatever, because like you are always part of every decision that you make. You evaluated for yourself that you don't belong in the equation of whatever the fuck decision you're gonna make that has to do with like other people. Even when you make like so-called sacrifices, even if you do things you don't want to do, what is the end result? Obviously something that you want, right? So I don't know, like I live my life and I just see hypocrisy everywhere. And like, our laws, moral philosophies, our codes, I'm just like what is that? That is always flexible for anybody that has the power to enforce whatever they want, whatever agenda that they want. So I'm just like, this world is gross. We're all fucking disgusting. And I'm just like, well,